Hello, Pisces. Thank you so much, as always, you guys, for being here. Okay, Pisces, so looking at your last week of November, you pulled redemption, creation, and meditation. This, to me, feels like a connection to the higher self where there's this, apology going on. Like, you know what? I'm really sorry that I wasn't paying attention. Now I understand that it's time to create something better and let go of any kind of negative thinking you may have been holding on to. So redemption is talking about being able to admit that you are wrong, taking accountability, saying that you're sorry. But because of creation, I feel like this is an inner conversation that is going on with you. Because this is talking about finding inspiration, finding your muse, being willing to create. It says your path is an artistic one. Express your love in a tangible art form. It is time to make decisions. And it talks about being open to magic, lasting transformation, divine feminine, awakening creativity, finding your muse and owning your gifts. So to me, this feels like, the inner conversation where you're apologizing to the higher self, like, I'm sorry that, I've been suppressing that creative part of myself. Now, that may be because of some negative thinking, and that's where meditation is coming through. So this one says, in meditation, we can find the space between thoughts and mind chatter. When you meditate, allow your mind to be in a state of peace. This shift in thinking will help you stop any limiting and negative thoughts you might have fallen prey to. It says when fearful thinking gains a foothold in your mind, it can take root and become habitual. Expecting the worst possible outcome can become your normal response. That's where I feel like, things are starting to change. So the healing advice there is to clear your mind. Don't judge the thoughts that you have when they do come. And be aware of the thoughts that you're carrying within you that are creating this negative self-talk that may have been preventing you from creating something that you are wanting. And I think that that is where redemption is coming through, because we're talking about being able to redeem yourself, right? So I don't necessarily feel like it's about something that you've done wrong that you need to take accountability for. I think it's more about, the things that you weren't aware that you were doing that were manifesting things that are blocking your own creativity. Now, the other part of this, though, is there may be this feeling of, okay, I see my part in this situation, and I can take responsibility for that. But it's also understanding that, even if you have created something from a negative space, you still have the ability to create something different. And I feel like that's kind of like where redemption is coming through here. But it really does feel like an inner conversation that's happening between you and your higher self, what you've been creating, and where that creation is coming from, right? And again, if it's coming from negative thinking and negative thoughts or feelings, it's about you being aware of that now through meditation and kind of breaking the habit of continuously creating things that end up letting you down. And I say that because of redemption, right? It's interesting. Okay. So your overall, the Lovers, the union, right? The very significant union. For some of you, we can be talking about relationships. For others of you, we're talking about the choice of love, experiencing love, following where your heart is leading you, but not in a Knight of Cups type of way, right? This is coming from a place of having that inner union between the masculine and the feminine, right? The divine union. But we'll see how Gemini and the Lovers is playing out here. So in the past, the Ace of Swords, clarity and a new beginning. So whatever you were dealing with in the past has opened the door for a new experience for you where there is truth, clarity, honesty, new ideas, aha moments, right? Inspiration can come through with the Ace of Swords too, for sure, depending on what kind of information is being gained. But this is a new beginning in honesty with the union you are having within yourself or with another person. And the present, the Queen of Cups. So if we're talking about a relationship here, I think that for some of you, because the queens to me are like what we're internalizing, right? If this is the energy that you're taking on in the moment, this may be you opening your heart up to having a more powerful experience or a more stronger emotional connection within a relationship. Honesty, opening up your emotional receptive side. But this is feeling love, right? I want to see what's going on here. Okay, so future conditions, the Six of Swords. And what I feel like here is because, first of all, with the swords, we're talking about your thoughts, right? So if clarity is coming through that is helping you to be more honest about how you feel and what you love, there may be a realization here that there are some things that you need to move on from. And I think that that's what you're working toward here in order to have a more, better union, right? Like I keep the phrase perfect union is what's being pushed forward from the lovers for me on this one. But clarity coming through about what is going on with you emotionally that may have created difficult situations that it's time to move on from. But I think that this is for you, again, right? It's all about what's going on within you, the inner conversation that you're having. Especially between you and your higher self. But for some of you, absolutely, it could be clarity about a situation that may have been affecting you emotionally. And now you realize that it's time to move on. But it's all in order for you to experience more love, right? And more of a connection within. Your best path to follow, the Eight of Wands, right? So what I feel like here is if things are happening quickly, this is where you're going to have to go with the flow of the situation. You can't try to block this situation in how fast it may be happening for you. And this may be coming through communication too. But the other thing here is don't hesitate to act. If things start moving in a certain direction very quickly, you have to be willing to, go with it, right? But this could also be you needing to quickly make some changes. But either way, we're talking about really fast movement here. But for me, with the Eight of Wands, right, it's like as soon as you're making clear decisions to move away from things that are difficult, that's when things are going to start picking up and moving in the direction that I think you intentionally wanted them to go. Wow, man. Yeah. Okay. So in your environment, the Two of Cups, right? So this absolutely could be about you getting clarity about how you view relationships, or there is a truth coming out about a relationship that you have been in where I think you're more in tune with your own emotions and how you feel. And there are some things that need to be moved away from. Like, I'm not seeing the ending of a relationship here, but needing to get things in a different direction. For those of you who are single, this could be about a person that you feel like you have a connection to. And there may be an opportunity for communication to come through that changes the direction of things in a much more positive way. But whatever clarity that you've gained from the past, right? even though you may be in a place of wanting to open up your heart to a relationship or to someone in particular that you feel like feels the same way that you do, there may be things that you've experienced within relationships that you know have affected you emotionally. And that may be the honesty and clarity that you're kind of seeing, where you need to move on from those thoughts in order for there to be like this perfect union, right? Wow, man. Okay. Your hopes and your fears, the devil. And I don't mean to laugh, because it's like, I think for some of you, you've already experienced the negative side of following temptation, because you're not initially seeing it this way, I think. I think that for a lot of you, what happens is that as soon as there's an emotional connection, there's almost like this, yes, I want to experience this with this person, but you've been through toxic situations and finding out, that these things are not exactly long lasting, or they're based on the temptations that you yourself follow when it comes to what you're attracted to, right? So it's like fearing that this kind of toxic, obsessive, need to have type of behavior is going to pop up again if you open up your heart to somebody that you feel like you have this emotional connection to. And that may be where we're needing to move on from those thoughts, right? Because clearly you're fearing a situation that's going to end up being toxic or negative. But I think that that's something that you already see and know because of that Ace of Swords coming through. And some of you are just wanting to get away from all of that completely. And it may be that, with the Eight of Wands here, if you want things to change very quickly and go in the direction that you want them to, right? It may be that you need to clearly communicate what is going on within you with the person that you have interest in. But the other thing here, though, too, I feel like is, how do I put this? There's the feeling of you need to quickly move and communicate to someone who has opened up your heart, but doing it from a place where they completely understand the things that you've experienced. It's like the best way to form a connection in a new relationship for some of you, or even within an existing one, is to be honest about how things like this have affected you. So if you're meeting somebody new, it's like, okay, so let's just put all the cards on the table. Here's what I've experienced, and here's what I know has happened to me emotionally and mentally, and how it's affected me in my responses to certain things, right? It's like, let's just get all of it right out on the table right now, so that it's not ever an issue again. It's interesting because I've seen relationships start out that way, where two people are having a conversation about how they feel about the horrible experiences that they've had and how it's affected their reaction or responses, and it forms this immediate connection. So the devil between you and another person may be the cause for the change for both of you to be able to move on and move things in a better direction, right? But this would make sense. But the thing is you already see that, and you see how it's affected you, because you know that you need to move on from it. Coming out the Seven of Cups. Okay. So, when we're talking about what is toxic within relationships for you, it could be that you don't really know what to choose, especially if you feel like you have a lot of different options around you. But for others of you, this is about being in fantasy mode. What could be versus actually acting on it and moving things in a different direction. So the Seven of Cups coming out, right? That is what you need to move on from. Wow, man. Okay, so, fantasizing about something, but not really acting on it. But that's because it's not that your thoughts are trapped, but you have clarity about, the things that are negative within relationships that have affected you, right? The High Priestess. So, you kind of keep those feelings to yourself. And if you do that, I feel like that's where things kind of like the manifestation stops. And then you have the Ace of Pentacles. So there is this opportunity for something realistic that's happening. And then you have the Three of Cups. There's support. So what I feel like here is because, with the Three of Cups, yeah, we could be talking about a group of people, but support, right? Somebody supporting you in your emotions and how you are feeling and how you are speaking about relationships, right? I think that this is an opportunity for a lot of you right now to find something that's going to be very significant for you. Maybe something that you looked at as a possibility but never saw how it could actually manifest, right? But there may be a conversation that's happening here that allows you to be able to move away from that kind of confusion. Whether or not you choose to be in a relationship, a significant relationship with this person in your environment, it doesn't matter. Just the conversation may be opening the door for you to manifest something completely different. Now, for those of you who are in an existing relationship, this is just strengthening the relationship and the connection and moving away from, the things that you may have been thinking as far as like options on how to get things back in a better direction in the relationship that aren't realistic. It's like moving away from those kinds of thoughts and feelings, right? But for others of you with the High Priestess and looking at, again, there's this inner conversation that is going on, and you know how relationships have affected you. That has become clear to you. So you're not running off of old programming. Light has kind of been shed on that. But I also think that for some of you, this is about needing to open up and be honest about feelings that you may have been keeping to yourself, because if you do, with the Ace of Pentacles, we're talking about something realistic and the potential for something very long-lasting, right? Something that's going to produce results in your outer world. And I would much rather see this than the Ace of Cups, because this is something that's worth working toward, right? But there's support with the Three of Cups, and this may end up being a celebration point, right? Like celebrating new love in your life. But this could be, the beginning of multiple different connections. It's like finding a group of people. It starts with one, but it opens up to many. That may be helping you kind of deal with, all of these options that you have for manifestation, but you don't actually choose because of, again, things that you've been keeping within yourself with the High Priestess, right? At one point, this was information that you may not have been aware of. But with the Ace of Swords, again, it's like you see it now. There's this clarity. But even if it isn't about a group of people here, we could be talking about you finally, making a very clear choice that's going to be supported. And I think that kind of emotional support can help you kind of change and see the way that you see how different things could end up manifesting in your life. Again, especially within relationships, because, we're moving on from that. Yeah. Crown chakra, interesting. And root chakra. So love is, as we all know, an extremely high vibration. And we see it in experiments that have been done with water, for example. And when you look at your body, it is mainly made of water. What would happen if you started feeding it positive thoughts of love and acceptance? how would that reflect back to you, right? So being a little bit more grounded in the vibration of love may open the door for, that divine inspiration to come back to you. And I kind of go back to your oracle cards and think of, creation, right? Being aware of what you're creating, but also getting inspiration back. Never mind the relationship stuff. Whatever it is that you're inspired to create, you may have been blocking that. But you see that now, right? But it's interesting how love, the feeling of love, right? And somebody who also understands the power of that and how important that is in grounding you and being able to have that divine information come through. Wow, man. Impasse. Who else got it? I think a couple people got that this week. Reflect and redirect your energy. So there's a block for a reason. And then you have overcoming obstacles. You can overcome anything. Things may appear to be blocked at the moment, but there is a way to get past that. So even though you're seeing the impasse, it's not saying don't stop. It's just saying that things need to go in a different direction, right? And once that happens, there is nothing that can stand in the way of what you are truly trying to create, and getting away from the negative thoughts. I really think, though, that this reading is going to be for those of you who are going to have a conversation with a person about the toxic things that you've experienced and how it very much remains in your hopes and fears when it comes to your relationships and the connections that you choose to make. But I think it's through that type of understanding that a more stronger union is going to be made that may help release the blocks that may have been preventing you from making a choice or actively creating something different.